I'm gonna try. Okay, sorry. Yes. Yeah. From the house that she was living in. No, she didn't tell me that earlier. That's what I asked you. That's what she told me. Told me. She said, no, no, not this question. Then, once, oh, I didn't know. Okay. Well, said, I want her to go why it's not here. So she was, and I said, because she was in the hotel, she was you know what? I was in Georgia.
Good afternoon. This is Miss Simpkins. We're so excited to have you with us this afternoon talking about financial aid basics. I'm going to preempt, I guess, or let you know as we get started that we may have to take a short break for the afternoon announcements. We tried to schedule around them, but still not sure if we're if they're going to interrupt us. And Ms. Irving is actually in a meeting, my co-counselor, this afternoon, and so our hope is that she'll be able to join us at some point during the presentation. We wanted to rerun this one because we know that it's financial aid season, it's FAFSA season, and we wanted to make sure that parents had all the information they needed. And so we wanted to run this one. And this one probably is a little more in-depth than the one that we did previously, because we're going to actually talk about MHEC and a few other ways that students can earn money to go to college. So again, thanks so much for viewing and joining us. And we're going to start now with Financial Aid 101. So financial aid basics, we're going to talk about the different kinds of money that students can get for college. We're going to talk today about free money. We're going to talk about borrowed money, and we're going to talk about earned money. And so anytime you're talking about financial aid, you're talking about one of these three kinds of money. Of course, the best is the free kind, because that's money somebody's just handing you, either because your grades are that good, or because you've earned a grant, or because there's a need. And so, of course, that's the best kind, because we know we don't have to pay that back. We're going to talk about the differences between all those different kinds of aid today. So again, free money, borrowed money, earned money. And so next, we're going to talk about the different kinds of free money, grants versus scholarships. Um, grants and scholarships, should I say. Grants and scholarships can come from anywhere, universities, private organizations. There are grants awarded by the federal government and the state of Maryland. But anytime you see the word grant or scholarship, you should know that the money is free money. Money that's being either awarded because of merit, a student's grades or SAT scores, because of need, because of the parent's income, or because the student has completed a number of tasks in order to be recognized and earn the scholarship. The next kind is borrowed money. And so these are loans. So anytime you see the word loan, you know that this is money that students and or parents are going to have to pay back. Generally with the federal government, we're talking the direct plus loan, direct subsidized loan, and unsubsidized loans. The difference between the subsidized and unsubsidized is when you're talking about subsidized loans, that means the federal government is paying interest or taking care of the interest while the student is in school. So we encourage students that if they do have to take out loans, do want to take out loans or need to take out loans for school, that they make sure that they are subsidized so that the interest is not accruing while they are in school. And they have until they graduate to start making full payment back on that loan. Loans are not all bad. We know that there are some students, the only way they will be able to finance a college education and possibly graduate school is by taking out a loan. So they're not all bad. We just make sure that you want to be an educated consumer and you want to check those interest rates before you sign on the dotted line, and only borrow what you need. So Urban and I talked in the last presentation about students we knew who had taken more money than they actually needed, and so ended up owing back, 2 times what the tuition actually was. So you want to make sure that you're, again, reading everything that you can on the loan documents and that you're only taking the money that you need. The next kind of earned money, and that's work study. Just about every university in the country has work study programs, and this will be offered to students through their financial aid package from the school. The school will offer them employment someplace on campus, and one of 2 things will happen. Either money will go directly to the student, and they can use that for books, tuition, or money will be forwarded to directly to the student's account to take care of any tuition deficits. I know when I was at James Madison, there were students who worked in the cafeteria, students who worked in the library, in the student union. So students can be employed anywhere on campus in order to access work study. Now we want to talk about the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. And we want to make sure that we put a focus on that word free. If you are accessing a site at any time when you're completing your FAFSA or working on your financial aid information and there is a charge, it is a scam. So we want to make sure that you are only accessing the website where the services are free. It is a free application. And folks have a lot of misconceptions about what FAFSA is. All it is an application. It's a document. You're going to complete it, and there is a paper FAFSA in addition to the online version. And it asks for identifying information and then information related to income. And what the federal government will do is then review this and determine what they think parents and students should cover and what they're willing to offer. Okay. Here's some important information we want you to remember about the FAFSA. So first, students are going to complete this every year. So every year that they are in college, they're going to have to complete this form because, of course, as you know, financial information changes. And so it's important that what is in the system is up to date. And so they'll be required to do this every year. In order to complete the online version, both the student and the parent will need what's called an FSA ID. Real easy to get, and I'm going to show you at the end of our presentation on our website where you can find that information. It takes about 5 minutes in order to get the FSA ID, and then that becomes your electronic signature. So both parent and student need that. Next, students are encouraged to file their FAFSA as soon as possible. This is something we've been stressing with our students here at Surrattsville, that you want to complete that document as close to the opening date as possible. funds are dispensed based on when you completed the document. And so again, you want to make sure that you are completing it as close to October 1st as possible. Now let's talk about what you can expect with financial aid. So student completes the FAFSA and signs with their FSA ID. Next, the Department of Education is going to process that FAFSA, and then you're going to receive what's called a SAR, or a student aid report. Included in this SAR, or student aid report, is just a summary of what you submitted and some estimations of what you may receive once you get your final financial aid report. It's important that you review this information, because if there are any errors or anything you need to change, you can go back into the system and change them. Next, after the federal government has reviewed that information, the state of Maryland is going to review it. And I'm going to show you how to make sure that's done in a moment. And then your college, whatever college or university your students have applied to, are going to review the FAFSA information as well. And they're going to put together what's called a financial aid package or financial aid award. Some schools do it in a letter, others do it in a pretty fancy document that they send to you. And it just shows the tuition costs, and then where they have awarded any monies, and then what is actually due upon registration. You receive that generally after you've enrolled, or after you've made the decision that this is where you want to go. You'll receive that information, and then you can make a final decision on whether or not the school is in budget. So state financial aid. So we've talked a little bit about the federal government with FAFSA. So again, you complete the FAFSA, and the federal government is the first level that will review the information. Generally, students are awarded loans and or what are called Pell Grants based on student need. And then after the federal government reviews your information, the state of Maryland also has its own entity that reviews FAFSA documents to determine eligibility for student aid. MHEC is the organization that does that here in the state of Maryland. They are responsible for doing a couple things. As you see here on the slide, the State of Maryland's Higher Education Coordinating Board, responsible for establishing statewide policies for Maryland public and private colleges and universities and for-profit career centers. And they are also the entity that administers state financial aid programs. So federal financial aid was loans and Pell Grants. State financial aid, we're talking Rawlings Grant, the Access Grant, legislative scholarships, and then career and occupational-based grants and scholarships. Again, without a completed FAFSA, students are not eligible for any of these awards. So that's why it's important for students to complete them. And we want to keep stressing that even when parents think that they may make too much money and that their students won't qualify, it is definitely necessary. I'll give you an example. The legislative scholarships that are awarded in the state of Maryland, every delegate and senator in the state of Maryland has money set aside for scholarships. If students have not completed their FAFSA, they are not eligible to even apply for those scholarships. So again, it's important that students complete the form, because even if they aren't awarded a Pell Grant or a needs-based grant, they still will make themselves eligible for a number of other grants and scholarships. So how do you access the state financial aid? The first thing is you're going to have your child register for what's called an MD-CAPS account on the MHEC website. And then each separate grant and scholarship has directions for applying. Some will want you to apply directly. Others simply want a confirmation of the email, and then they will screen your FAFSA to determine your eligibility. If you have any questions on that, you can definitely contact either myself, Ms. Pegues, or Ms. Irvin so that we can assist you. But MD-CAPS account, which takes probably about 2 minutes to set up. And there are links on our department's website for you to set that up. Private scholarships and grants. Everyone, I think, thinks that there's like a secret to how you win these and how you get these, and there really isn't. It's just apply, apply, and apply. For everything that your child qualifies for, fill out the application, write the essay, order the transcripts, and apply. Send it in. I've seen students win anywhere from $3,000 or $4,000 to 5 figures and 6 figures. Depending on how many scholarships they actually completed. And so those students that you see at different graduations who are winning $500,000 or $1 million in scholarships, those students are applying for everything they can get their hands on. This year, we've been emailing students directly through their school email account. Every scholarship we find, we send, and we ask them to go ahead and complete that application. So definitely, and if you find any that you want to share, definitely share those with us. We are not the absolute clearinghouse for scholarships, as you know, that there are so many out there. But what we have, we do share. And if you share with us, we'll make sure everyone in the class knows so that every student has access. Next, we have university aid. And again, we talked a little bit about free money, but work study grants and scholarships. Every university has money. And then again, every department at every university usually has money. For example, your son or daughter might want to major in music at, let's say, Bowie State University. Bowie State University may have grant and scholarship money set aside in addition to the music department having grant and scholarship money set aside. So it's real important that once you've decided on a college or university, to begin a conversation with your financial aid officer and with the professors and department chairs wherever your child is going to study, because they can also be a source for money. But again, here's the key. For many of those scholarships and grants, students must have a completed FAFSA in order to be eligible, and then you must again contact the university directly. So as we wrap up, I want to go over a couple of points just to make sure that everybody has the information they need. Definitely complete your FAFSA. Again, even if you think you make too much money, you make more than the income cutoff, please make sure you complete it, because even if the federal government and the state of Maryland don't award money, there are different scholarships and monies that you can access through a college or university that still require a completed FAFSA in order to get the money. The next one is register with MHEC using an MD-CAPS account, and that your student will do. In addition to registering, in order for MHEC to review or determine your aid in the state of Maryland, you must also have applied to at least one school in the state of Maryland. And so this is something that we're also encouraging students to do, to consider in-state, because tuition is cheaper, and then you also have access to another layer of financial aid. Apply for private scholarships. Apply, 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 apply. It is work. It takes a lot of work, but it can definitely be well worth it. When students receive emails from their counselors, definitely print those out and look to see whether or not they're eligible. I tell students they should probably be spending anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes a day looking for scholarships, and then time on top of that, filling out those applications. You'd be surprised at the money you can find if you're looking. And we definitely will share everything that we have. Meet all deadlines. So if the scholarship is due on October 1st, make sure that you have it in by the deadline. Make sure that you're reading the applications as well. Some scholarships say postmarked by, others say received by, and there definitely is a difference. And with state entities and the federal government, please make sure you meet those deadlines. The priority deadline for financial aid in the state of Maryland is March 1st. And so you want to make sure that you meet that deadline to have your child screened for financial aid in the state. And with reference to your FAFSA, apply as early as possible. So if you haven't already completed it, we want to make sure that you have it done. Our goal is to make sure that all of our seniors have theirs done by the end of October. So if I have any questions, I'm going to be taking those now via email, and you can email those in. All right, since there are no questions, thank you guys so much for watching today, for viewing, for joining us for this talk about financial aid and FAFSA. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact your counselor and view our website at www.surrattsvillecounseling.weebly.com. If you click on financial aid, there's a ton of information there for you. Thanks again so much for viewing, and we hope you have a great weekend.